Hey everyone, so glad you're here. Welcome to Church Online here at Linden Road, and we are so incredibly glad that you are tuning in with us today. Go ahead and drop a comment right over here in the chat and let us know where you're watching from today. Now, since yesterday was the 4th of July, I've got to ask you in the chat, if you would, how was your holiday? Did you catch any fireworks? Did you burn any sparklers? Let us know over here in the chat about how you celebrated our nation's freedom yesterday. Wow, 250 years, such an incredible thing. We are so glad you're here, and you could do us a favor. If this is your first time, we'd love to get to know you a little bit better, and you could click on the digital link card above if you're watching this live on Sunday morning, or if you're watching it later on YouTube, scroll down in the description. You'll find a link there to a digital connection card. We would just love to know your name and email address, and if there's a prayer request you have, or if there's a question you'd like to ask, we just want to engage with you. We want to move to be more intentional, and so we would love to know who you are, and we certainly hope today isn't your last time, and so glad you're here. And if this is your spiritual home, we say welcome to you also, and are grateful that you've tuned in and are part of our online experience. And you can use that same link up above if you're watching live on Sunday, or if you're watching later on YouTube. Click on that and it'll open up a dialog box where you can fill in some information and let us know a prayer request or some news you might want to share. Together we are grateful we can connect here online. And as we jump into this weekend, we are officially going to kick off a brand new series called Book Club. Over the next 4 weeks, we're going to do something a little unique. We're going to lean into stories and wisdom and fresh perspectives of some incredible leaders and authors. We're going to dive into what it looks like to live out our faith with grit and with confidence, and how to find purpose in a chaotic world. And you're not going to want to miss a single week. And we are grateful for our friends at Open.Church to allow us to participate this way. I just really believe that it's important in our current season for y'all to hear different voices, not just mine. And so I'm grateful that you're going to hear some great kingdom people who I think will be an encouragement to you. Now, I also want to share that on Thursday, I had the opportunity to go sit with our friends Birch and Lisa and continue the conversation we started last week on the American presidency, and just trying to better understand this whole time of celebrating America's 250th anniversary. Looking at some questions that Birch was pondering as a young man, just have we lost our patriotism and why, and what things we can do to bring it back. And so I would heartily encourage you, there's a link here in the worship notes. We had such a great time just talking about what it meant to be an American. A little bit of a tease, and let me share right now.
And the tension of that. So yeah, it's amazing just how the American dream is not dead, because our friends are excited about ranch dressing and free refills, but that's just part of it. But how do we help them better see it's about an idea that the country was based on?
Well, and even then, being the idea itself, you mentioned the different people, even in the time of Lincoln, who's giving the address. And Lincoln, I mean, I think there's an argument, of course, that he probably had one of the most challenging presidencies,
absolutely,
if not the most challenging.
Right.
So yes, I hope you'll be encouraged to watch the whole thing. It was a great conversation, and it's really encouraging to lean into these kinds of conversations, to be reminded, as Abraham Lincoln did in his Gettysburg Address, about why we are Americans. It has to do with this amazing document called the Declaration of Independence that we celebrated its birth yesterday as it was signed some 250 years ago, and the freedom that we find. We also know that's the liberty that God gives us through Jesus as we celebrate being members of the kingdom, being sons and daughters of the great King. But before we dive into all that, let's take a moment to fix our eyes on the one who holds it together. And let's prepare our hearts, and let's join our voices together in worship through music.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crowned thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Beautiful, this founding faith, the rock on which we stand, with firm assurance we take hold of God's almighty hand. America, America, the love of God, our light. Let mercy, grace, and servanthood be ever shining bright. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Shining
Amen. It's so good to worship. And as I mentioned before the song, we're going to start a brand new series today called Book Club, I've done it a couple of times, and I'm so grateful for the partnership with Open.Church because they provide these opportunities for us to hear voices that I think are important. Some are people who have shaped me, and some are some new voices, and I hope you'll be encouraged by that. And I just want to say the rationale behind doing that is simply this, is that I think it's important. The most meaningful spiritual and personal growth that a person engages in happens when we step outside of our usual routine and where we take time to truly listen to someone else's story, someone else's background, and even their unique perspective. And for week one, we're going to start with a massive conversation on leadership and on decision making and on influence. That tension of leadership and what we anchor our lives to is the perfect runway for today's book club feature. Today, legendary leadership expert John Maxwell is bringing a powerful word entitled, "You're One Decision Away from a Different Ending." And if you've been feeling stuck, or if you're wondering how to lead your family or your business or even your own life, right now, this message is going to challenge you to the core. And let's lean in and hear what God has for us today. And so check this out.
First of all, do you not love Craig and Amy? Huh? Talk to me. Oh. Love Amy, and we all know Craig married way above himself. In the South, they say he outpunted his coverage, huh? But I'm so glad to be with you at Life.Church, and I am going to talk today, teach on the subject famous failures, and it really does come out of a book that I just wrote, that's just coming out right now, on how to get a return on failure. And I've written 92 books, okay? Which, that's no big deal, that's no big deal. All that means is you're old, okay? That's all it means. If you write 92 books, you're old. And I've written 3 books on failure. And the first book I wrote was Failing Forward about 25 years ago, which became an instant bestseller. And then I wrote a book called Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. And then this book on how to get a return on failure. And somebody asked me, he said, well, why have you written 3 failure books? And it's because I do really believe that failure is a spiritual gift that I have. And a lot of people don't have it, but I'm just good at it. You know what I mean? Some people are not good at failure. Some people are really good at failure. And so I try to help people get really good at failure. And my first book, Failing Forward, let me tell you how I wrote that one. Margaret and I were going to go on a cruise to see the fjords of Norway. About a month before we were going on the cruise, I was looking at my calendar and I saw that it was a 2-week cruise to see the fjords of Norway. And I thought to myself, seems a little long. Just a little long. I mean, God created the heavens and earth in 6 days. And we're taking 2 weeks to see the fjords of Norway. So I thought, we need to talk about it. So we had a really good conversation about the 2-week cruise. And then we took a 2-week cruise to see the fjords of Norway. Anybody that has ever been married long knows you got to compromise, okay? And we did a deal, and the deal was I'll do the 2-week cruise on the fjords of Norway if she would let me write a book so I could get something done in between the fjords. You know what I'm talking about. And so I took and I write with a 4-color Bic 99-cent Bic pen on a legal pad. And so I took about 6 legal pads, about 4 pens. I literally write with a table like this, the whole deal. And we had this wonderful room with a lot of glass, so that, on the ship we could see the fjords of Norway. And so I'm writing the book Failing Forward, and every once in a while the captain would stop and say, to the left is a fjord, and I'd stop writing, and I'd go there. Yeah. He's right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a fjord. A little while longer, we stop again. He says, to your right is a fjord. I stopped writing, and I look, and I said, wow, he's 2 for 2. Gosh, this is really good. Yeah, Harry. Isn't that something? Wow. Yeah, that's something. You know what, baby? That fjord looks just like that fjord. 2-week vacation's over. I have 224 legal pages written. I have my book done with a rubber band around it. That's my manuscript. Margaret is carrying it off the ship. We're about halfway off the ship. She said, John, I love the book. I said, thanks, baby. I said, what do you love about the book? Oh, she said, you're so honest about your failure. She said, you just talk about losses and misses in your life. On every page, you're just an open book, and the reader's they're just going to identify with you. You're really going to help them. I said, well, thanks a lot. I'm glad you like it. She said, there's only one problem. I said, well, what is it? She said, you didn't get all your failures in the book. She said, I see a series. You know, 101, 201, 301. And that's exactly what's happened. I've written 3 books on failure, and I tell you, I'm getting better every time. And I almost, not quite, I almost have all my failures in this book. There's probably a book 4 coming up. Here's what I know about failure. Everybody fails. How many of you have failed at least one time today? We all fail. And we not only all fail, but no one really enjoys it. When you ask somebody, have you had a great day? They say, oh my gosh, awesome day. I just messed up and failed the entire day. Had a bunch of losses and a bunch of misses. You know, you just take them straight to therapy. And what's interesting is when people talk openly and honestly about their failure, there's a connection with it. Because we all fail, and it's kind of like, okay, I'm not abnormal. Good people fail. Smart people fail. In fact, Charles Schulz, who was the creator of Peanuts cartoon, he said that the successes of his cartoons was based on the fact that Charlie Brown would never be successful. I mean, Charlie Brown is never going to be able in the fall to kick the football. And he's never going to be able to fly the kite, and he's never going to get a date with the redhead. And that's why people loved Charlie Brown. And we all have some of that in us. And today, in the famous failures teaching I want to do, we're going to talk about people in the Bible. And when I say famous failures, the Bible is loaded with dozens and dozens of men and women who fell short. I only have time for 2, but we're going to look at 2 of them that will just help us understand that we can fail forward and we can come back. Let me just put it this way. If you want to look at a list of the longest mess ups, you don't need to look in a mirror. Look in the Bible. Because when you look in the Bible, you're going to see that there's a woman from Samaria who has tried 5 husbands. And you're going to see that Gideon, who literally put an idol on the very place that God called him to do a great work. And oh my gosh, Sarah, who has had a lifetime with God doing miracles in her life, and yet when he tells her about another miracle, she just laughs at him. And we got David the adulterer, and Eve the apple picker, and oh my God, we got Zacchaeus the crooked tax man. You see, before you tally up all your failures, losses, misses, and sins, count theirs. And before you throw the towel in on yourself, look at the list of the people in the Bible who failed. And you're going to see that these people not only had some famous failures, but they had some amazing comebacks. That although everybody knows about their losses and misses, what's beautiful about the Bible is we find that they had some divine comebacks in their life. So you're ready to go. I know you're ready to go. I know you can hardly wait to say, which one of the failures is John going to talk about? Because right now in your mind, you're thinking about some too. And the first one I'm going to give you, I think, is going to be a surprise. Because if I ask you to pick him out, I don't think he would be at the top of this list, but he was a pretty big mess. Jonah. I call Jonah the Old Testament prodigal. And I call him the Old Testament prodigal because when you look at the life of Jonah, honestly, he did his own will instead of the Father's will. He just messed up big time. And yet when you look at the life of Jonah, there's something in the scripture that just grabs my attention. It'll grab yours also, and here it is. If Jonah could come in today and just share with us what he learned about failure and what God taught him about failure, he would say to us, God will give you a second chance. He'll give you a second chance. And I know that because there are 12 amazing words in the Bible that says, then the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time. Wow. A second time. He blew the first time. God said, Jonah, I'm going to come back and give you another chance. You see, Jonah just made a bunch of bad decisions. I mean, God said to go to Nineveh, and Jonah headed 2,000 miles the other way. I would call that disobedience. God said, go by land, and Jonah decided to go by sea. God said, go east. Jonah sailed west. Jonah says, arise and go. And Jonah went down and to the bottom of a ship. And God said, preach. And Jonah went to sleep. And God said, live for others. And Jonah chose to live for himself. He was a nasty boy. I mean, he was just determined to do his thing and not do God's thing. And God watched him do it. And then he gave him a second chance. You see, a second chance to me means three things. And I think you'll connect with this. A second chance means to me that the first time was lost. The only reason I have to have a second chance is because I blew the first chance. I could still remember when I was just a young author, just beginning to write, and I was filing material ferociously because I knew I needed to have material to write books. And I think it was my second book that came out. I was living in San Diego at the time, and I had a wonderful friend that you would know, many of you would know because he's a great Bible teacher, David Jeremiah. And David was a good buddy of mine. And so every month we met, and we just had a long lunch, and it was just a wonderful time. And I can still remember he came one day to our lunch with my new book that I had written. And I was so excited. I thought, oh my gosh, he's got my book and he's going to want me to sign it. And, and back then that was kind of a big deal. You know what I mean? My mother was the only one who had bought my books. And so to sign it to someone else was kind of a nice thing to do. And so I'm all kind of excited about it. And he sits down and says, I got your book. And I said, how do you like it? He always said, I think it's good. And then he said, he took me to a certain chapter. He said, where did you get the material for this chapter? And I said, oh my gosh, David, I don't really remember. I just file as fast as I can file. And he said, well, you got it from me. It's my material. In fact, you got it from a sermon I preached. And he said, you didn't give me any credit. You didn't talk about the context of it at all. And I could see that I had hurt him, and he's a beautiful friend. And my heart just went big time. And I thought, how can I express my sorrow? And I said, David, I'm so sorry. I'm a rookie at this. I'll get this. I'll go to the publisher immediately. I'll get this taken out of the book. And I'm doing everything I can to climb back up into, quote, his good graces, and I'm just so sorry. Could you forgive me? And I'll never forget that conversation that day because he smiled real big time and he said, yeah, he said, totally forgiven. Totally forgiven. He said, I won't bring it up again. I just knew that it was an accident. He said, I knew you were young, and he said, you just want to be more careful. And I said, trust me, I've got careful down now. You know what I mean? I got it. And we had some of the most beautiful years of fellowship. But just one thing I want you to know. Every time I was with David, I would look at him and I would say, he gave me a second chance. He just gave me a second chance. And when we hear it the second time, it means we didn't do it good the first time. And aren't you glad when you think of people who love you and forgive you and say, I'll give you another shot at this? And the second thing it means to me is the fact that grace is needed. You know, when we talk all the time about justice is what we get what we deserve, but we all know grace is what we get that we don't deserve. We don't deserve forgiveness. Hey, we don't deserve a second chance. Grace is always needed when we do wrong. But I want to make sure we all understand today, grace is always needed when we do right also. Grace is always needed because we're only saved by grace. We're not saved by what we do right. So when sometimes I think people, they think, well, I just do good things, or I try to do good things, and so I don't need grace. Well, we just need grace. It reminds me of I love the cute story of the guy who he dies and he goes to heaven and he's meeting St. Peter and he's talking to him at the gate. And so St. Peter says, well, it's going to take 1,000 points for you to get in. So he said, what have you done? And the guy said, well, I went to church every Sunday. And so, oh my gosh, he said, that's 25 points. And so now the guy says, well, I also, oh my gosh, he said, I tithe. I'm a tither. I gave 10% of my income. He said, that's good too. He said, that'll be 25 points. Now the guy's kind of just getting a hair desperate. He said, well, no, he said, I also want you to know, I taught a Bible study. And Pete says, that's good. That's 25 points. The guy's starting to get desperate now. And he said, well, I did some wonderful things in my community. And Pete said, okay, that's good for 25 points. Now the guy knows he's shot completely. He's way below that. He's got 900 points. He's a long way from 1,000 points. He said, he's desperate. He said, well, oh my gosh, what else can I say? I said, the only way I'm ever going to get into heaven is by the grace of God. And Peter says, that's 900 points. Come on in. Yeah. Come on in. Aren't you just grateful for grace? Wow. The third thing that Jonah teaches us here when God comes back to him a second time is that we can make a better choice. I love that. He came back to him a second time because he said, Jonah, you didn't really have a good day the first day. And so I'm going to give you another shot just to have a good day. And we don't always get what we want, but we do get what we choose. And so Jonah chose unwisely, and he was getting a lot of stuff that he didn't want to have in his life. I was mentored for several years by John Wooden, who was the great coach at UCLA, and one of the first things he taught me was just a simple little poem. He said, John, there's a choice you have to make in everything you do. So keep in mind that in the end, the choice you make makes you. And how true that is. And so when we think of that second time God comes back to us, it reminds me of this other little phrase that though you cannot go back and make a brand new start, my friend, you can make a brand new start today and have a brand new end. And so Jonah, the Old Testament prodigal, he just says, look, let me tell you something. When you fail and mess up, God will give you a second chance. Aren't you glad that's the kind of God that we serve? A second chance. I'm coming back. And then, oh my gosh, we got to talk about failure. I'll bet when I said famous failures, I'll bet many of you in the audience picked this one. Peter. Peter would say to us with our failures that God will give you hope. He'll give you hope. You know the story. The Bible indicates that Pete was the leader of the group, of the disciples, and kind of big football player, Jesus looked at him and called him Rocky, he had it. But this very strong leader, at the most important hour in Jesus' life, just messed up really big time. And you know that. You know the story that they're in the upper room and Jesus looks at Peter and says, "You're going to deny me." And Pete says, no, I'm not. Now, because I am so attracted to Peter and I identify in so many ways with him, I've really done a little bit of diving into this story. And I think that there were 3 reasons that Peter failed. And I think all 3 of them apply to me. I think all 3 of them probably apply to you. So let me give them to you quickly. First of all, I think he failed because he placed himself spiritually above the other disciples. I really think Pete thought he's a little better. You know, just because you're the leader of the pack doesn't mean you're the best. And I just think he just was a little bit superior. And in verses 31, 33 in the New NLT, it says, on the way Jesus told them, this is when they're coming to the upper room, "Tonight all of you will desert me." But Peter declared, "Even if everyone else deserts you, I will never desert you." Jesus, I'm so sorry. I can't give an account for those boys. But it's okay. It's all right. It's fine. Jesus, got you covered. Got you covered. Those another 11, they could be a little bit. But I just want you to know, the Rocky, I'll be there. He felt a little spiritually superior. And may I just say, that's a dangerous place for any of us to be. Very, very dangerous place to be. I think the second reason he failed is I think he thought he knew himself better than Jesus did. Don't you? I think he was really looking at Jesus, and I think he was just saying, to be honest with you, Jesus, I know you think you know me. Just trust me on this one. You're a good man. You are a good man. I know me. I know. About that time, you want Rocky music to rise. You know, he has to go climb the steps at Philadelphia at the library. You know, man, he's got to. And I think he said that because Jesus replied, "I tell you the truth, Peter, this very night before the rooster crows, you will deny 3 times that you even knew me." "No," Peter insisted. "Even if I have to die with you, I'll never deny you." Lord, you're doing okay. You're okay. You're okay. Listen, worry about the other 11. It's me. Got you covered. Got you covered. I think the third reason he failed was he felt that he was stronger than he really was. Boy, I see myself in all 3 of these because there have been so many times when I just thought I had it, and I didn't. It's a very humbling thing to just kind of feel like you can pull it off, and you don't pull it off. That you'll say yes, and instead you say no. Jesus said in the garden to Peter, "Your spirit is willing, but your body is weak." And sure enough, when he was pressured by a crowd of people, he does what he says he never will do. And then it says, right when the rooster crowed, the Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? The rooster crows, the Lord sees him, knows what has happened. I can't imagine how he felt when he saw the eyes of Jesus. And he knew that everything he said he would do, he didn't do. And every time he picked himself up to look good, he now has fallen flat on his face. Gosh. You know, disappointment is failing to live up to expectations. Discouragement is losing courage when you do. And despair is losing hope. That's why C.S. Lewis in Screwtape Letters said that Satan's strategy is to get Christians preoccupied by their failures. He said, from there on, the battle is won. And I'm telling you, Pete lost hope, but I know he lost hope because he did what every person does that loses hope. He leaves. He wants to be alone. He goes to the lake. He says, you know what? I think I flunked fishers of men. I think I better go back to doing what I do really well. I think I better go back to fishing for fish. And here's what's incredible. Just incredible. Jesus says, I'm going to go find Peter. Listen to me. When you lose hope and when you give up and when you kind of want to get alone by yourself and you've disappointed yourself and you've disappointed God, He'll come looking for you. He'll come looking for you. Oh, he'll come looking for you. I know that because in the story of the shepherd, Jesus said there were 99 sheep in the pen, and the shepherd leaves the 99. And why? Because there's one lost. And he's going after that lost, and he's going to seek that lost until he finds him. You see, Jesus will always leave the lost. Or Jesus will always leave the found so he can find the lost. He'll come, he's coming after you whether you like it or not. He's coming after you. And Jesus gets to the lake, he's doing a little fish fry for the boys, and they're coming in on the shore. And it's interesting because it talks about the smell of charcoal. And of all the senses, smell is the one that you remember the most. There's only two times in the gospel that charcoal is mentioned. One was Peter was warming himself by a charcoal fire when he denied Jesus. And now he comes back and he sees Jesus again, and he's right back at the charcoal fire. Wow. There's a whole teaching there. There's a whole teaching. I don't have time for that teaching. Craig's going to come and get me. I don't have time for that, but I'm going to tell you there's a whole other teaching. It's just like the children of Israel when they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. When they had to go over into Canaan land, they had to go right back to the same place where 40 years earlier they didn't go. He won't let you pass the stuff that you need to see before you connect. And so Jesus looked at him, and he said, Peter, do you love me? And Jesus used the word agape love, the highest divine love. And Peter answered by a love that is lower than agape love, a brotherly love, phileo. So when Jesus said, do you agape love me, Peter? Peter says, I phileo love you. And Jesus asked him the second time, but Peter, do you love me? Do you love me with the divine love? Do you love me with an agape love? And Peter says, Jesus, it's just phileo. It's not been proven to be agape. It's just phileo. Do not miss what I'm about to say. Before the denial, Pete would have been first to say, I agape you all over the place. But now he has tasted failure. He's so disappointed. He can't measure up to that. In his own self, he thought he could measure up, but now he can't. And so he's coming under agape and he's phileo. And here's what's absolutely beautiful. The third time, Jesus looks at him and says, okay, Pete, let me ask you one more time. Do you phileo love me? Jesus came down to where Peter was. He looked at Peter with his incredible unconditional divine love and said, okay, I got it right now. It's a standard too high for you. It's okay. It's okay. It's just like he comes to our house, our door of our house to knock and ask if he can come in. He says, I'll come to where you are. I'll find you. I'll go down to Phileo. And as soon as he said that, Peter hugged him and Peter loved him. And all of a sudden, Peter, he's connected back with him. And by the way, if Peter can come back from failure and Jesus asked him to come back, I just want you to know that we can come back too. We can come back too. And today, honestly, we can either try to come back on our own or we can have a divine comeback. Jonah needed a divine comeback. God spoke to him a second time. Peter, he needed a divine comeback. And that's for you, that's for me, that's for all of us. You see, the word hope appears 81 times in the Bible, one time before the resurrection, 80 times after the resurrection. It's our hope, it's everything for us. I closed the lesson by going back to the reason I wrote this book. I had a conversation maybe 8 or 10 years ago with a very successful business person. And he was, I won't give him your name, his name, because you would know, many of you would know his name. He's a multi-billionaire. And I was talking to him about building his business. And he was very open about his failures and his losses and his decisions that weren't that good. For about 20 minutes, I mean, I knew him, but for about 20 minutes, it's kind of like, just let me open up and be honest with you and tell you where I am. It's so vulnerable. So when it was done, I looked at him and I said, let me ask you a question. As you look at your failures, which one of those failures would you like to go back and do over? And his answer was the catalyst for the book. His answer surprised me because when I asked him, which ones do you want to go do over? He said to me, none of them. I said, you're kidding me. If you could go back and erase some of those failures, you're not going back? He said, no, because he said 2 reasons. If I erase my failures, I erase the lessons I learned. I erased the lessons I learned. And he said, trust me, John, the lessons I learned have so much more valuable than the failures I had. And he said, second, if I erased the failures, I would lose my character. Because I developed my character in the valley, climbing out of the ditch. I learned resiliency and adversity. And so he said, I'm not erasing any of those failures. I'll live with the lessons. I'll live with the character. That's not grace, but that's what Jesus does for us in our divine comebacks from the famous failures. Thank you very much.
My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame Oh, may I then in him be found, dressed in his righteousness alone, far less to stand before the throne. Far less to stand before the throne.
Amen. Such powerful words from John Maxwell. He hit the nail on the head. You are truly just one decision away from a different ending. Think about that truth in light of everything we've sung and talked about today. Think about it as we've just celebrated our nation's 250th birthday. Think about the legacy, whether we're talking about the leaders of the nation or the leader of our own households. It is defined by our intentional daily decisions, not our accidental circumstances. We can't just coast through life and hope for the best. And as I talked about earlier, while our ultimate unwavering hope is anchored securely in Jesus Christ, we are still called to step up, make wise choices, to actively pursue good government and healthy communities. Right here where we live. We are to be people who choose neighborly love over political combat. If you want a different ending to your story, a different dynamic in your home, or a deeper anchor for your faith, it starts with a single intentional decision that you can make today to align your life with the biblical truth of God's Word. Now, before we log off and head into this holiday week, a couple of quick reminders to help you take the next steps. First, listen to the podcast. Make sure to head over to our website, or there's a link here in the worship notes, to check out that podcast episode on presidential leadership, part 2. If you missed part 1, both the links are there right together. You can watch it or you can listen to it, however you choose. It's a perfect companion to today's message of the weight and impact of our choices. If you want to process today's message with others, I've included the Talk It Over guide. It's right here as a link in the worship notes. And dive into these questions this week to process it. I want to say thank you so much for spending part of your 4th of July weekend with us here online. I want you to have an incredible week and make some great decisions, and I want you to be reminded that you've been blessed to be a blessing. So take that blessing and go serve Jesus Christ in the world and make a difference. Happy birthday, America, and blessings on the week ahead. We'll see you back here next week for week 2 of Book Club. Blessings.